Okay, so like any good perfume lover, I have a few jars kind of around my house in different places that have travel size perfume sprays in them, right? You've seen this before. This is one of them. I have several jars. This is actually an old Boy Smells candle jar. This one was called Dynasty. So I have a few candle jars around, and a lot of them are in here. Some of them are upstairs in my bedroom. And I just store all my travel sizes in here. So like my Histoire de Parfum Amber 114 is in here and a bunch of others. And I keep thinking to myself, like, I need to burn more candles so that I have more of these vessels to store my decants and travel sizes in. Then I thought to myself, duh, why don't I get rid of some of my travel size that I don't really wear anymore? Like, there are a few in here. For example, Replica Music Festival, which I was obsessed with, and I bought a backup. Always a bad idea to buy a backup, I think. I'm never gonna go through two of them. I can probably get rid of one. I have Calvin Klein Downtown. So a few of these, I've sprayed and I really don't like, and I've probably gotten free with a Sephora package or, somewhere. I haven't bought all of these. Probably in a swap or something. So I have sprayed them, and I'm trying to get rid of them. I will probably end up giving a lot of these away. But then I saw that I also have YSL Opium, and I know that I kept this around for reference. So this is what we're going to talk about today, because I sprayed it on strip maybe a few weeks ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this actually smells good, because I was spraying and getting rid of the strips as I was spraying. But this one I kept, and I kept going back to the strip and spraying and smelling it again because I really liked it. So I'm a little bit obsessed. I've been wearing this off and on for a couple weeks and just spraying, and I wore it today also, and it's a keeper. It's a keeper. So let's talk about it, because I've been going through all the ambery scents that I can get to, and this one is definitely a good amber. And I think it's unisex. I think a lot of people that already have tried everything else might like this also. So worth talking about. Obviously, this is the 2009 reformulation. This is not the original that came out in the 1970s. And I have worn the original or a flanker of the original in the 90s. So I'm familiar with that scent. I have a memory of it, even though I don't have any of the bottles anymore. So, in my memory, in my head, I can kind of compare the two. No, this does not smell like that one. Like I said, that one came out in the 70s, and it was really bold and intoxicating, smoldering, very, very strong, very heady. And this is none of those things. I don't think it's very heady. It's definitely not, a beast mode fragrance. But in the 1970s, and people talk about this all the time, they smoked. There was more smoking. You smoked when you were out. You were allowed to smoke inside. So fragrance need to cut through all that smoke and still make an impact. The person wearing it would have to smell it, and then the other person would also hopefully smell it at some point also, right? So those perfumes were made for that environment. This was made in 2008, or it was released in 2008, 2009. Totally different environment, climate, smoking is no longer as popular. So you're not making perfume to break through all that smoke. You can tone things down a little bit. I would even dare to say that this goes into office-friendly territory, but it's not as boring as maybe other office-friendly scents. So this has kept the spiciness of the original Opium, but when I first sprayed it, it really reminded me of Kenzo Jungle, which has a lot of cinnamon in it, and it has cloves, and a lot of those hot, Eastern spices, and you get some of that in here too, but probably I would say Kenzo is more, or the Kenzo Jungle is more spice forward, and this one is a little bit lighter on the spice, and the spice in this is also blended with a good amount of citrus. Like, there is citrus in the opening, but there's also a lot of powder thanks to iris and thanks to vanilla. And so everything kind of is floating on this like cloud of powder, I would say. You know, the citrus is tempered by the powder, and the spices are kind of like clouded over with the powderiness of this perfume. Eventually, when the citrus dies down, you still have that powder kind of as a base almost, and you have vanilla, but you also have a range of florals. So the florals that I get when I smell this are carnation and ylang ylang and maybe a bit of jasmine, and they're all blended so seamlessly. So you get kind of, you know, a melange of all of those together, along with a nice powdery vanilla in the dry down. And it's quite ambery. It's not very sweet, which I think is refreshing. And really, it's almost a timeless scent because it doesn't get into any of those really popular perfumes that were launched in that time, you know, and it stands out from anything that's launched now because it's not an overdose of aroma chemicals. It's not beast mode. It's not super strong or super long lasting. It doesn't have a ton of ISO E in it either. It's just a really nice blend of, you know, spice, florals, and then an ambery base via myrrh and incense and vanilla, all mixed together, you know? And I think that that kind of makes it kind of a classic perfume, but I know that this EDT got discontinued and there's an EDP out there, there's Opium Black and Belda Opium and all these other flankers that are really popular now, but you can still find this, and I know this because I searched for it myself, you can still find this at discounters, you can still find this on the YSL website. So it's in a red bottle with a big gold window in it. It's not the old bottle, it's a newer bottle, updated bottle. And I would put this on my wish list. I would get a nice big bottle because look at how quickly I've gone through this. But I know that my mom has the bottle that came out in 2008, 2009. So I'm just gonna maybe take that back from her because I don't think she's really wearing it. So this definitely gets a rave review from me. I would, give it 5 out of 5 stars because I think it's that good. I think it's still interesting and textured. It's got that nice powdery texture. It's layered. It's got development. It's really interesting. It's not boring at all. But at the same time, it's safe to wear in lots of different environments where I think people will appreciate it instead of feeling like it's too much, because I know that the original Opium was seen as being too spicy, maybe too exotic to some people, and it was just a lot. The other perfume that this reminds me of, aside from Kenzo Jungle, is Shalimar, because Shalimar is an ambery perfume that also opens with a lot of citrus. I just feel like Shalimar kind of has a heaviness to it in certain forms, and of course with Shalimar there's lots of flankers and lots of different forms also. It feels a little bit more heavy to me, so I've always found it a little bit more difficult to wear, but I wasn't wearing this for the whole time that I've had it, and I like it now, so maybe I also need to revisit Shalimar and see how I like it now, because my taste might have changed and I might like it now. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about Opium. Again, this is the EDT that came out in 2008 or 2009, depending on where you're looking for your information. Super easy to wear, I think. Lasts kind of a long time, but it's definitely not an all-day wear. I could get 6 to 8 hours out of a few sprays. I also really liked overspraying this, so I'm really happy wearing 6 or 8 sprays of this and not feeling like it gives me a headache or that it's overwhelming, because it does kind of die down. It doesn't, like, it develops and it fades away, and I kind of like that. I don't want to be left with, a huge bomb of ambroxan or something that's sitting with me for the majority of the day after the top notes have worn away. So personally, I like that I get 6 to 8 hours. To me, that's a good amount of time for a fragrance. and it's also one that I'm happy to respray and wear lots of. That's it for me. Let me know if you've tried this or other variations of opium. I know there's an version too, but I feel like this is maybe a little bit feminine because of the powder, and I know lots of people associate carnation and powder with different time period maybe, or maybe a handbag, but I enjoy it for what it is. I think, you know, if you don't mind powder, then you could probably wear opium too, especially on a crisp day. I think it would really work perfectly. That's it for me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.